Good evening. You're watching the news on Croatian television. At today's cabinet session, government adopted a report on the work of Agrokor's crisis management team. Both Prime Minister Andrej Plenković and Economy Minister Martina Dalić remain convinced that a settlement agreement with suppliers will be reached, allowing for the company's restructuring.
I believe that a settlement deal will be reached by the defined deadlines, and when that happens, then the process of restructuring will begin. And I think it will be unique in that it will be completed in a short time span and without cost to the taxpayer.
What lies ahead of us now is this intensive work, which is expected to result in a settlement deal. And what is most important for all of us, the continued generation of revenues by these companies and the preservation of jobs, which means achieving our main goals without relying on funds from the state budget.
Prime Minister Plenković also addressed the recent decision by the Fitch ratings agency to raise Croatia's rating.
This is an encouraging message, and I believe that other ratings agencies will similarly assess this government's achievements, which are first and foremost a responsible managing of public finances and fiscal consolidation in general, which have produced a general budget surplus.
Speaking ahead of today's cabinet session, Finance Minister Zdravko Marić announced the government is preparing to further reduce the tax burden on citizens, but not in 2018.
As I've said before, the tax policy for 2018 has been defined. We will not undertake any major changes this year. What we will do is use these 12 months to once again conduct a thorough analysis and produce a well-conceived new package. What is certain, however, is that you can expect a further reduction in the tax burden.
Interior Minister Davor Božinović continues his visit to Washington, where Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs, Wes Mitchell, announced that the U.S. was ready to mediate in the border dispute between Croatia and Slovenia. Božinović also met with Senator Ron Johnson, with whom he discussed strengthening bilateral ties.
And it should be noted that we have agreed to strengthening cooperation in all of the other issues discussed, from the LNG terminal, avoiding double taxation, and in meeting the criteria to remove Croatia from America's visa regime, which is very important.
There's been a lot of history that has sprung out of southeastern Europe, and I think it's incumbent on other Western democracies to pay attention and do everything we can to support your efforts as you build your economies and also help heal some of the divisions within that region as well. So I certainly appreciate Croatia's leadership from that standpoint.
On the final day of her visit to neighboring Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatian President Kolinda Grabar-Kitarović toured central parts of the country where there is a large Croat population. Earlier, she made an unannounced stop in the village of Ahmići, where she paid her respects to the 116 Bosnian Muslims killed there by Croat forces in 1993. She also visited nearby Križančevo selo, where Bosnian Muslim forces killed 74 Croats that same year.
I believe that you have already noticed that I prefer to visit these places of piety in peace and quiet, simply to pay my respects to the victims, to think of the past with the conviction that this recent past never happens again, but also to look to the future, a future with good relations, not just between Croats and Bosniaks here in central Bosnia and Herzegovina, but among all of the peoples of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
After a fund for innovative new medicines used to treat rare diseases failed to raise any significant amount of money, Healthcare Minister Milan Kujundžić said today that all patients that meet the criteria for the treatment will receive it.
As it has until now, government will ensure that patients who meet the criteria for these treatments receive them, just as it did with neuroblastoma and spinal muscular atrophy cases.
In Parliament today, MPs debated a bill on managing state-owned assets, which is aimed at protecting and activating these holdings. Minister Goran Marić said that these assets are currently neglected, in decay, and in dubious legal standing.
There are no contracts, there is no invoicing, and in those cases where there was invoicing, bills were never settled. There are thousands of illegal tenants.
And on a lighter note, Croatian traveler, writer, and photographer Davor Rostuhar has successfully completed the first Croatian expedition to the South Pole. The 47-day journey spanned almost 1,200 kilometers. Taking a quick look at its sports, at the European Handball Championships, Croatia beat Belarus 25-23 in Zagreb this evening. Croatia plays Norway next on Saturday. Meanwhile, in second-round action at the Australian Open, Croatia's Mirjana Lucic-Baroni lost to Belarusian Sasnovic 6-3, 6-1, while Dona Vekic lost to Kerber of Germany 6-4, 6-1. In third-round action, Petra Martic plays Laksika Kamkam of Thailand tomorrow. And now the forecast for tomorrow. Predominantly overcast with intermittent rain, especially on the northern Adriatic and in Gorski Kotar. The coast will see some thunderstorms. As temperatures drop in the afternoon, precipitation will turn to snow, primarily in mountainous regions. There will be a moderate to strong southeasterly and southerly on the coast, reaching gale-force gusts in some places. In the evening, winds on the northern Adriatic will shift to a northerly and northeasterly. Morning lows of 1 to 5 degrees Celsius inland, 6 to 10 on the coast, will give way to highs of 6 to 9 degrees in the interior, 10 to 14 on the Adriatic. The 3-day forecast for the interior calls for colder weather and relatively strong northeasterly and northerly winds. Expect snow in mountainous regions and at lower elevations over the weekend. The coast will also see cold weather and strong northeasterly and northerly winds, especially on Sunday. And that wraps up the news. Be sure to join us again tomorrow night.